Hello, I am CharLee Simons, your host here on Do Not Talk. Talk about two things you're never supposed to talk about: politics and religion. What I do. This website right here, where you can get merchandise like this fantastic big old 15-ounce coffee mug, says, "Let's talk about politics and religion." Come on, drink out of that at your workplace. You can do it. Put your back into it. Don't be scared. And I'm glad you're here. Paul Preston is my guest today. Paul Preston from New California State. He's been at this for a lot of years now, trying to craft this, make it happen, come together with an extraordinary group of people who I've gotten to know, many of them. Dedicated. They, like me, love our state of California. They, like me, have been so sickened by what has been done to it by one supermajority of Democrats running the show. They, like me, don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Even if we get a conservative governor, a Republican governor this time, finally, after 18 years, let's say Steve Hilton, we limp him along enough to actually get him into office, then what? Are we going to be able to get the Attorney General? Michael Gates is who I'm voting for. We desperately need Rob Bonta out. You don't understand how bad and how wicked that man is. Unless you've been following all the fraud that's coming down in California, you don't understand just how bad he is and how he's been hiding it. And his own wife, Mia Bonta, who ran for his seat and won out of the Bay Area, San Francisco, when he got appointed Attorney General, which is supposed to be an elected position, by the way. You see, they just do. It's so dirty, so dirty. California's so freaking dirty. And then the Department of Justice, after I give so much credit to Nick Shirley, that kid from Minnesota, man, who started pointing out all the fraud there and then came to California. Thank you, Nick, for coming here. He just hit that ground running and never looked back. So what do? They respond with a Stop Nick Shirley Act. That's what they called it. They thought it was cute, thought it was funny. They didn't realize that we would find out about it and pick up on it. We'd all start calling it that, the Stop Nick Shirley Act, because that's what it was. AB 23, 26, I forget the numbers now. There's just so many of them. These idiots just keep pumping the crap out just to try and justify their phony baloney jobs. But none of them really are smart enough to write these bills themselves. I'm quite convinced of that. You think Nancy Pelosi has ever actually written a frickin' bill? Come on. Scott Wiener? Really? You believe that? Oh, it's coming from higher up. Then they put their stupid little names on it and get credit for the hell that they've brought down on all of us just to please a minuscule little people group when it comes to this Pride Month and so on. Look what happened to San Francisco Giants. They're forcing all the players to wear their little rainbow homo colors on their hat, their logo. They turned it into rainbow colors. So several of the pitchers on the Giants started writing Bible verses on their caps. Major League Baseball commissioner lost his mind. San Francisco Giants management lost their minds because it was a direct insult. Some teams didn't play at all. What's that one in the York? It's a minor league baseball team. They refused to wear the Pride jerseys, so the game was forfeited. We're finally starting to fight back. But this is an election year. It's really a little too late. Can we get an attorney general in there that's conservative and get rid of Rob Bonta? No, most people don't even. I don't believe it's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. I truly hope I'm wrong. I've had Michael Gates on the show. He was fantastic. He'd be an extraordinary attorney general, but most people don't even know what an attorney general does. We need a secretary of state, desperately. Don Wagner, a secretary of state. We need a controller. Herb Morgan, another great conservative. Desperately need these people into these positions. Otherwise, Governor Steve Hilton will not be able to accomplish anything. Just a lot of talking, but he's not going to be able to get anything done. We watched it. We watched it with Arnold Schwarzenegger. We watched what they did to him. We yanked their goofball, as I called Q-tip head, Gray Davis, for doubling registration fees at the DMV and fuel taxes. Just doubled. That's all. We impeached him, got rid of him, kicked him out. I voted for Tom McClintock to replace him. I think I was one of only 12. Everybody flocked to Shiny, and it was all about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, great. He said he's conservative. I met him. I had him on the show, on my radio show at the time, a couple of times when I was working for CBS. Extraordinary gentleman. Maybe not so much if you actually work for him or are married to him, but an extraordinary gentleman for the most part. I liked him. He's a likable guy. Couldn't get anything done. So I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, even if we get a conservative Republican governor. I just don't. Is that blackpilling? That's the new term now. Oh, you're blackpilled. Everything's doom and gloom. No, not for the nation. I see great things about to happen. Happening now. The world. But California, yeah, I'm doom and gloom. There's two great events coming up towards the end of this month, June here, 25th and 28th, and both with new California state folks. I'm amazed at how even I was just at the Republican convention. I'm a delegate down in San Diego. I heard people talking about, hey, there's this new movement trying to split the state. Oh, new, is it? All right. Well, we're going to talk to the guy who started it all. And, oh, by the way, speaking of Governor Hairdo, which in a roundabout way we were, Gavin Newsom, he's on the attack. He's on the attack. Did you see this? This poorly lighted, ridiculous. He's going after Donald Trump. Donald Trump.
Last year, Donald Trump directed his Department of Justice to investigate me. And just in the last week, I've learned that his campaign has reached my own home to get me. He's coming after my wife, Jen, a public servant, a woman who's dedicated her life.
A public servant. I'm sorry, what? Wait a minute. The one that makes little short films for children, which has got a whole lot of basic soft porn in it and all about the homosexual lifestyle. Is that the public service your wife is providing? Oh, and our tax dollars pay for those films to be shown to these children in the schools? Is that the wife, the public servant you're talking about, Gav?
To supporting women and girls, someone who has done nothing wrong other than having the temerity to advocate for what she believes in. If they can't intimidate me, they'll go after the mother of our children. Donald Trump.
Listen to him. He's just all about emotion, isn't it? Get the women riled up. That's right. They're dumb enough. They'll fall right in line. They'll be all outraged over this. You watch. It's always worked in the past. I don't think it's going to work this time because he's going to be brought in for questioning. That's about to happen. And I can't stop smiling about it. He is so dirty, and he's been so dirty for so long, and we've been stupid enough to give him that position twice. We're to blame. I know I'm excluding you and me, obviously. I'm talking collectively as Californians, though. We're to blame. We are. And even we conservatives, if we're not voting in the midterms and the primaries, because that's where elections are won and lost. We showed up in this last primary, though, pretty well, better than usual. Let's get the man into the mix who has a solution I think is basically the only true light at the end of the tunnel these days, cutting this state up. New California State, Paul Preston on Do Not Talk. Ready? Hit it.
Yeah!
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Great. How are you? It's a wonderful day, beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is, huh? I hope should I be rethinking my whole thoughts about whether we get a conservative governor in there or not? It's going to be effective in any way, or am I on the right track?
Exactly right. I was very intimately involved in Governor Schwarzenegger's situation when he became governor, and he stepped into basically a hellhole. He was first of all, he was not a competent. I was listening to your intro there, He was not a governor. He had no bureaucratic skills. And of course, it's necessary in this position, at least in California, because you're managing a massive bureaucracy, one of the biggest ones in the world, actually, besides communist China. Maybe some similarities there. But the bureaucratic state runs California, and it runs that governorship down there. And he had no skills, and he ended up, as the story is, and this is why I know so much about it, but he ends up rehiring Gray Davis's chief of staff to help him in the office. And because he couldn't even run the office. I mean,
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he couldn't even run the office, and he was not. And I'm not going to, he came from Austria, and I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures of his dad. That kind of gives you his lineage. But he came from Austria. He got the American dream. He married Maria Shriver. He had a couple of extra ounces of sperm left, and he gave them to another woman. And then he had a son, and Maria got to confront the son in a very, very uncomfortable situation. You may recall that was all the time when he was governor, by the way. But it was kind of funny. No, he had no skills, and why would he? He was a movie star, and certainly he had acting skills and other skills in business that he could not transfer into another one. He was a great popular person for a while, and everybody thought of Republicans and like you said, exactly as you said it very, very well. He couldn't run anything, and basically, after a while, the SEIU swallowed him up, and because he went out on the warpath. And
that's a union, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. SEIU, a very powerful, extremely powerful union
down in Sacramento, and they are headquartered in West Sacramento, I think. And they just drilled him because he came in. I got a popularity contest, and I'm doing better than you. I'm more. People like me. They don't like you, and he polarized himself also, which wasn't really good. And they just ate him up at the end. And he was
called the legislature "girly men." Remember that?
Men, that's right. and well, he's right. He was right there. I don't deny that.
Was right.
He was right. But anyway, so he got himself in a little bit of trouble that way from the very beginning. And we've just been in trouble in California for a long time, and bureaucratically, I think it's since the early 1990s when they went into the term limit mode and they changed everything around. They allowed in the term limits permission for Jerry Brown to come back and get a third and fourth term. That was another.
That's insane. And the last thing I thought that we would do as Californians would actually vote for him again.
Ever see him again. Yeah.
Nice.
And, I had to suss that out when I was down there. I kept asking people, how in the world did he get to have another opportunity? Because I thought term limits was only for 8 years. And for a governor, I think that was in the Constitution, the so-called quote Constitution in California. And it was, but they changed it. They changed the language. It's literally a one-line change in the 1990 Prop 1 term limits that allowed him to get a third and fourth term. 16 years of Jerry Brown was
insane.
Yeah.
That's the idiot that brought the motor voter law and made it illegal, made it legal for illegals to drive. Then the motor voter law. And at the time I thought, why would we do that? And now I realize you automatically register these illegals to vote, and they're voting.
And they are. And in fact, what happens, because we've, in the New California State Movement, we've done the deep dive on the election fraud in California. We know how vast it is. And you'll never see Republicans ever again under this configuration, because these are no longer elections, they're selections, and they have been for a long time. And we've outed a lot of the process. We wrote 80,000 in the New California Movement. We wrote 80,000 declarations, which are basically grievances against public officials. So 80,000 people had to sign a document, extensive document, as witness under the pains and penalties of perjury, that they thought that there was a suspicion of voter fraud or some other associated crime. And we had all the criminal codes and education codes, election codes, and all that stuff down there. And so over 70,000, almost 80,000 people signed. And as a result of that, you're seeing still the tailing end of that, which is what's down in Riverside County, where Chad Bianco seized the ballots in obviously some irregularities in the 2025 election for Prop 50.
Wasn't that like 640,000 ballots?
No, there's differential. There's 650 some thousand ballots that were.
That's an extraordinarily large number. He got them all. He still has them, as far as I understand.
He's actually, well, he doesn't know how many he has yet. He hasn't done the count.
Forced him to stop counting them. That's right.
He sort of by agreement, because I don't think they can force him to do that, and I don't think the courts can either. And I think that's why they have it on hold right now.
They'll just pass another law.
Well, I don't think that'll even work.
What they're doing?
Do that. No,
this AB 73. That's exactly what that was. One of those midnight emergency sessions. We got to pass a new law real quick. The DNC told it. They wrote it out for us. So we'll put your name on it and put your name on it because you haven't gotten any press lately.
A sheriff can still investigate that, and it's not against the law for him. That's
our federal constitution. But in the state,
again, the federal constitution trumps all that. And that's where you have to think about this. That's the federal constitution. He swore an oath to the federal constitution first, and he knows this, and the courts know this, and so does Rob Bonta. He knows it, and so does Gavin Newsom. He knows it too. So he's got a situation there that they've got it on hold right now for whatever reason. But the differential, CharLee, is 48,000 votes difference. So they're reporting 48,000 more votes up in the Capitol from the Secretary of State's office than what they think they have in possession down there in Riverside. That's not a rounding error. That's big. That's big time that affected all the votes and certainly a statewide election. And so that's what he wants to get at. So he's perfectly within his rights. In fact, our attorney, Robert Thomas, who's a former prosecutor with Orange County and Butte County, 50 years experience, former Marine JAG officer. That's our attorney. He's the one who wrote all the declarations. And we went out and we saturated with our New California state people. Riverside County put out 700 alone of those declarations, complaining about the county clerk recorder down there, that there was fraud going on and the ballots were out of count and everything like that. And we submitted those to Chad Bianco in October of 2022. And that was we got a case number. He opened it up as a criminal case to look at. And as a result of that, what happened is that they fired, that we're talking about the Board of Supervisors fired the county clerk recorder the following September for cause, obviously, for fraud and everything else. And there was a whole bunch of other irregularities that they were tagging onto. But
it's like a Tina Peters thing, only on the other side.
Only we had the receipts. They had the receipts. And so she took out a buyout. They gave her a buyout, but they fired her. And then they found, of course, the other fraud that was associated with it, the other voter fraud. It was enormous. So you're talking about 30, 40, another 100,000 votes that were irregular in that whole count. So Chad Bianco left the case open. He didn't close the case because we said there's other fraud going on. And so he was smart enough to say, okay, well, I need to watch an election cycle. And so they investigated 2022 election, because that we put we submitted our 2022 in October. Well, then you had the November 2022 election. They watched it, and then they came back in 2024 and they saw more. And then they came back in 2025, and then they knew they had more when they certified the election up there in Sacramento. When they certified that fraudulent number, I can't say it's fraudulent yet, but they knew they had a big differential of about 48,000 votes. So then that prompted him to go and do what the sheriff should do, as coached by our Robert Thomas says the same thing, because he's a former prosecutor. He's used to doing these things, right? So he declared the ROV office, a crime scene. Then he went down to the court and he got 2 search warrants for probable cause, because he wasn't arguing the merits of yes or no on 50. He wasn't arguing that. It's the vote count. It's the votes. It's the vote count versus the ballots. And so he seized them. He started counting them. And in the meantime, you had Rob Bonta. This is not talked about a lot. He's trying to interfere with the investigation by telling them to back down. There's nothing to see here. And oh, by the way, we have a March 7th deadline. And if you're going to do the investigation, will you do it after that? Because I have to go down and sign up and register as a candidate, and I don't want that to be interfered with. That's what Rob Bonta is trying to negotiate with Chad Bianco. Now, do you think Chad's going to buy that? I mean, then that's just adding to the criminality of it, you know? And so it gives him even more probable cause. So now they went to court to stop it, obviously, after the fact. And they didn't really stop it. The courts, I don't think, are going to say no to Chad. They're going to say, yes, go ahead and do it. Because there's more than enough probable cause. There's more than enough probable cause.
I think he would have been a great governor. I'm sorry that we did what we did in the primary election. Honestly, I'm sorry. I think that Chad would have been a far better candidate and could have actually won. I don't believe that Steve Hilton.
CharLee, you never know what's going to happen with Chad. I have all the faith that things are going to turn out really well for him and for everybody. I
hope so, because I feel that we blew it. And we once again went the way of shiny. All these people who were on my side, Republicans, I hear how many? I lost count of all the ones that said, yeah, well, he's not even born here. So I'm not going to vote for somebody who's not from the United States. And I went, Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't born here either. Did you vote for him? Oh, yeah, you did. Oh, yeah, you were all excited about that. The movie star being governor. That's fantastic. How exciting. But no, Steve Hilton, that's a no for you. Why are you drawing the line all of a sudden? So they were going for Chad Bianco just because they didn't like Steve because he's not born here. I think that Steve is an admirable gentleman. I like what he says. But when I was at that convention in San Diego, I saw both of them back to back several times. And Steve would come in and go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to make that person pay. And then Chad would come in and go, I'm going to do all those same things too, but here's how. Yeah. Changed everything for me. Because he explained, this is how I'm going to do it. You never heard Steve explain how. Yeah, he knows how. Yeah, he knows how. That changed my mind right then and there. And the other reason why I don't think that Steve Hilton is going to be able to win, and everyone listen to me carefully now. I am saying this as a lifelong guy in the media. We're all about demographics, target marketing. What are the trends, the marketing trends? What will people buy? What will they never buy? What's reflecting of past trends? How's it going to affect what's happening now? With that in mind, with this kind of knowledge, this is how I'm thinking of it. There's no personal prejudice at all. I'm the tallest guy in my family. I'm 6'1". Most of them are not exactly tall. They're just short dudes. I don't know what happened to me. Mailman, I guess. But California does not vote for short men to be governor. We don't. Do a little research on that. We don't. We're that shallow. We will not vote for a short dude, and he's a short dude. And all those debates they had up before the primary election, notice they kept putting them next to what's his face, Steyer, that billionaire freak, the tallest guy there. They kept putting them next to all the tall people to accentuate it. They're playing off that because they know that. They know that Californians don't vote for short dudes for governor. We'll vote for other offices, short dudes, but no, not for governor. We want a tall goofball I couldn't support him, and I know that Donald Trump supported him, and I believe that Donald Trump has a reason why. I don't know why he did that. But I don't know why he did that. But
he always has a reason why he'd do something like that. But
I agree with you. I was disappointed, especially doing it right before the convention, when we were going to vote as to who we as the California State Republican Party was going to endorse. He comes out with that, and before that, Chad was a clear lead.
Well, my biggest concern with Steve Hilton was his citizenship, and I used to be an adult education principal, and one of the things we used to do is offer citizenship classes, and people would come and, legal, illegal, foreign nationals would come in and get citizenship or work on citizenship, do the right things, get the right cards and everything, get themselves together. And they go off and do the coursework, and sooner or later I'd be attending their graduation, which is really awesome to see that. And it's exciting, and they sign the paperwork. Well, they sign paperwork that renounces their citizenship right then and there. And there's no dual citizenship. It's just citizenship. And then, so I was sort of wondering, and again, I have some very close personal friends that are had come over from other countries and earned their citizenship, and they're very prideful about it, And so I thought to myself, this guy's just not behaving like that. And then I tracked his history, and of course, he came from look where he came from. David Cameron. He was
initially Hungary.
Yeah, well, he was born there, he said, or I'm not too sure he was born there because of his age. That's another thing, but that's just another irregularity. There's a blip there, when I was looking at his background, and I'm just doing a general look. I'm not even searching, And then some of the stories weren't hanging in there, and then so I looked into the citizenship one, and I got the story about him coming in 2012 and 2016, and it was a vagary about when he got his citizenship. And then somebody said he got his citizenship in 2021. Oh, okay. And then I found out he was still a dual citizen. And so I wonder myself, why would he still be a dual citizen? Because I know you renounce it when you get it. You renounce all of your other
Didn't he say that in public too? I mean, he was bragging about that. He was all happy about that.
Well, what he was bragging about was that
he renounced his citizenship with England, and
he did. Well, he did, but he was not bragging. He was forced into it because I started talking about it on air for about 3 months beforehand, going, wait a minute, what's going on with this picture? And I had people, some of my people that came on, and they're wondering about that too. So suddenly, the next day or so after Thanksgiving, he's talking about how he renounced his British citizenship, on Thanksgiving Day. And so I asked my friends,
I'm all American now.
I said, does that happen that way? And they go, no, that doesn't happen that way. And
I didn't have so many problems with him as I do his wife, her past associations of social media, Silicon Valley, the wife that you never see or even hear about. Whereas Chad Bianco, his wife was with him at every single campaign bid I ever saw.
Right.
Denise was always right there.
I'm not too sure about all that stuff. I do believe that Donald Trump wants he's not stupid, and let's just face it, he does things that we don't even think about. And you know that we're really kind of in this nation wrapped up against the British, or at least the city of London right now, in about the whole Islamic thing going on, especially here in California. That's another big problem. But these worldwide shifts, I think, are going to come into play big time. And what's happening with the influence of the city of London, and of course, with our one of the things we're dealing with, of course, is a corporate constitution, which is what's brought by the city of London into Washington, D.C. in 1871. And from there, states started to mimic the corporate constitution. California, which got its constitution approved as a compact constitution agreement with the federal government in 1850, became the 31st state with a compact constitution. Now, the corporate constitution is one that's based not upon the citizens governing and we the people running the government. It's dependent upon lines of authority. And of course, lines of authority doesn't mean anything about the citizens who brung you to the line of authority. It doesn't say anything about that. In fact, it excludes it. So people that are pretty much selected to be in those positions by the elections. And it's been that way for a long, long time. This isn't just new to California. So when you take a look at like a Rob Bonta, in the Constitution of California of 1879, which was the revised Constitution that they adopted, California did, after having several years of some 1850 to 1879 of the regular compact Constitution, the original one, which is what we should be under. That particular Constitution went by the wayside, and they brought in the corporation. Well, the corporation changed everything. And we got what they turned it on its head when it said they called it a representative democracy and not a Republican form of government. And so California has been this representative democracy since 1879, and I would say more like a monarchy since then. And then just recently, of course, they've run themselves into some financial problems, which is classic of all representative democracies, by the way, or corporations. And so these
eventually
lines of authority,
you run out of other people's money.
That's right. That's exactly,
especially if they're leaving the state.
That's exactly right. And so what happened in the situation is with Rob Bonta and with Chad Bianco is a classic. Sheriffs are supposed to be sheriffs to sovereign land, to sovereign counties, and they're elected to be there by the people. The people are the sheriff's bosses. And of course, that's the way a constitutional sheriff works. Okay, but now let's take a look at Rob Bonta. He's not constitutional. He's a corporate officer. And so, but in the corporate officer's description in the Constitution of 1879, the corporation, Chad Bianco is supposed to report to him, not to the people. That's that corporation. So Chad, when he swears,
and they can cut the funding. That's one thing I learned when I was involved with one county I was living in during a race for sheriff, and I became friends with the opponent. And I learned so much about that, about how the state can cut the funding to a sheriff's department. They can't force you to do something. They can't force Chad Bianco to give back all those ballots, but they can cut any money that goes to him. They extort it. Yeah.
Extort you. Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
This extortion.
So that's why a lot of these sheriffs are falling right in line. They're not doing what Bianco's doing.
Them aren't. One of the things we recognize this problem in California, because what was happening is that a lot of the sheriffs were not recognizing or honoring the corporate structure as they should not. They should not recognize that. They should always recognize their first order of oath of office, and that is to, I swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It's in that order, and that's what Chad Bianco's about. He is, and now you have, by our count, around 33 sheriffs in California that are doing just that. It used to be around 27, because a lot of those sheriffs were being bought off in their last 2 years after being elected by the county boards. And then the county boards would appoint a sheriff.
Exactly.
So they appoint
the sheriff suddenly steps down. That happened in Placer County with Sheriff Bell, who suddenly had a back injury and I can't be sheriff anymore.
That's
about
right.
4 months before the actual election. So the board of supervisors just appointed
rather
the
than
next
to have
sheriff.
an election. Because
they appointed Bell. My apologies. I forget the name of the sheriff before him. But no, that's what they do. That's what they do. It's all such a scam.
Well, here's the scam: is that a sheriff who's elected by the people reports only to the people. If the sheriff needs to investigate a county supervisor or an elections officer, he can do that, and they have no recourse. They cannot stop him, because he is the law of the land. And the federal government, the Supreme Court, they'll all support that. And that's what Rob Bonta knows. Rob Bonta knows that in Riverside County, and Chad Bianco, if you watch he plays it out, It's classic sheriffing going on in the press conference. He plays the whole thing out. He says, hey, this is a crime that took place, and he mentioned this is a potential crime that took place in Riverside County. Period.
Right.
It did not really, and it may involve what's going on up at the state, but I'm investigating a crime that started here. And so that's his job. They can't touch him, and they know that. That's why they're desperate like crazy, and they're passing all these laws because they know he's right. And so this
But
is
why were they able to stop him from counting the ballots? He still has them, I hope. That's what I understand.
The court still has them all, right? They've got jurisdiction on them. And they were supposed to be destroyed. We've already gone by the window for destruction of those. The 2024,
which is another cute little California trick. And all the other elections, they have to keep the ballots at least a year, I think, or maybe more.
Actually,
maybe 15 months.
It's only for these one-off elections. It's only 6 months, and then for the
in
presidential
California
elections, it's 22 months. And so we're still in the window for the presidential election of 2024, which is another one that's really out there. Trust me. But so Chad's, he's got those ballots, and they're going to. And my money is that the court's going to have to do what the sheriff wants, and at least count them, because he's got probable cause. There's something wrong. Now, they know he's got that threshold of probable cause, not reasonable suspicion. This isn't guesswork. Yes, citizens came forward and said, not New California. New Californians were involved, but not. There was another citizen organic group besides New California came along and said, there's this irregularity, Mr. Sheriff. And he said, well, I've got this open case from 2022 from New California, and here it is again. And so it was the same old thing. So he took action as prescribed what he should do. He took action. And now we're at this dilemma. The court's having it. It's not really a dilemma. I think the court's going to find for him. And he's going to count, and they're going to find they're irregular. Our numbers people say those are. We have not talked to Chad about this. He'll probably hear about this, or he's heard me talk about it on the radio, I'm sure. But I know what our numbers people know the numbers. You can figure out any election and what the real numbers are, as long as you have the number of ballots versus the number of votes that they report. That you reverse the algorithm out, and you can figure it out very simply who won what. And guess what? We know who the winners are since 2018. We've gone back to 2016, and everyone has been correct so far. And when we do these declarations, and when we first put the first ones out, we did San Luis Obispo. We did about 130 people sign declarations, and we went to San Luis Obispo. We had a convention there several weeks before. We got them all filled out by people coming in and signing and stuff like that. And on June 1st, 2021, we gave the first set of 200 and some odd declarations against the county clerk recorder of San Luis Obispo, Tommy Gong. And on the third day of June, he resigned because he saw the numbers. We gave him the numbers. We gave him everything. We were very truthful and upfront, and he resigned. Now, he said, I've got another job, and I got to be closer to my family in San Francisco. Well, San Luis Obispo is not far from San Francisco, and where he ended up in Contra Costa County wasn't very far away at all. Of course, it was the Dancing Lemons. They had to get rid of him, and they put somebody else in their place, and then pretty soon they weren't doing good, and we got rid of them. Same process. And so we've done this all throughout the state. And we've done this in all 58 counties, to all 58 county clerk recorders at the time, started in 2021. And since 2021 till today, 40 members, 40 county clerk recorders and ROVs have either resigned or not run for office or just left the state. 40. Now, you tell me there's not something going on here. We know there's something. This is just a scratching of the surface. We have so much more. It's that's why I say I understand who's going to win and who's not going to win, and why they're going to win and why they're not going to win, because of who they are and what they are. The bigger problem is who's influencing it. It's the cartels. It's the cartels, and it's the communist Chinese, and there's others. You have the Serbians. I mean, it's a worldwide thing, and Donald Trump knows this. That's why uh, great reporters know this, such as Laura Logan. She actually came to our function. We had her to come to a couple different functions, and she came to the one in San Luis Obispo this last about 6 months ago, and she literally flew in from Serbia to Dallas to San Luis Obispo, an 18-hour flight, and so she was looking into stuff. But there's the other thing too. The big take was what happened with Maduro down in Venezuela, and they got all the information they needed about the machines. You got to remember something that you talk
that
about.
That little bird is singing. That little bird is singing.
$50 million, brother. That does that.
Uh-huh.
But the situation with Maduro and that whole thing in Venezuela has played out very well for Trump, and they do have the numbers. They know exactly what happened with the 2020 election in particular, and they're not going to stop on that. There's no question about that. California is a big one. California, the fraud here is enormous, and they know who the people are that are behind it. Like I said, they know who gets selected to be in office and who doesn't, and that's why this is all playing out right now. It's rolling out, and part of that is the open investigations that are already happening. The FBI is here; they're on the ground, and it's also the Department of Justice. You have Bill Saley, who's a U.S. attorney down there in the Central District. He's starting to really pump it up and really start.
He's my new hero. He's my new hero. Bill Saley's been amazing.
I was denouncing him like crazy up a couple of weeks ago, and he came out. It's really kind of funny. He starts talking about all of his stuff that he's done, but he's done a lot of work on the financial ends. And here's the thing: these guys are overwhelmed in the Department of Justice, but they're overwhelmed for two reasons. One, they don't have a lot of the people in the DOJ don't have a lot of loyalty to Trump. They don't want him. They're corrupt like everybody else. That's part of the problem. The corruption is just thick as you can't. We have Peter Tickton on the show a lot. He comes on. That's Trump's best friend and Trump's attorney, and now he's running the DOJ from a distance. And we talk about this stuff openly all the time about the fraud, and so it's very well known. And these people are now going, geez, what else do they really know? Well, they know everything. They know about the money laundering. They know about the child sex trafficking. It's kind of interesting when we get news every day. Our financial advisor, Chris Street, who's a CFO for us, every day we're getting financial downturn numbers for California because of the overall fraud with the NGOs and all this other stuff. And finally, somebody said the other day on one of our calls, is there a place where you can't find fraud in California? I said, fraud is the finding places where there's no fraud is the exception. There's no question. That's the exception.
Yeah, that is the exception. It is insane, right?
Try your DMV. Well, this is the thing about the DMV. The biggest thing that's going on with this election cycle is that the DMV grants citizenship. The DMV, if you come in there and you don't want your name to be on the license, or you no comprende inglés, you don't have to have your name on the driver's license. But if you sign up, it will automatically enroll you as a citizen and give you a ballot. You can't vote in California unless you're a citizen, right? But the DMV issues you a ballot because you signed up and registered at the DMV. That's motor voter. So this is the new gig that they're doing, because now there's all these fabulous ballots out there, potential votes, and no one owns them. They're just somebody with no name got a ballot or registered, and they became a citizen, and these ballots are just all floating around out there. And they can be counted. They're counted in the computers. This is Jerome Corsi's work, by the way, who did this. He pointed this out on the show. They can actually be counted, but they're counted in the machine. So you're going to get a discrepancy between what the computer knows and what is actually out in the ballots. So we're waiting. That's why we're looking at all these numbers now going in there. We know what the fraud's all about with this election. And that's why they're stopping. You know, they figured out, we figured out. And that's what happened, I think, when we caught them really cold dead rights with what's her face, who came in with Bass and kicked out Spencer Pratt.
Noodles ramen.
Ramen. Yeah, I wanted to say noodles. I did. Ramen, right? Top ramen.
That's what I call her. Noodles ramen.
Yeah,
I'm sure I could learn how to pronounce her first name, but I don't really care.
And the other thing too is that the dead giveaway and the fraud. Come on, guys, is you run 61 candidates for governor, and a lot of these guys get paid to do this. And when you start breaking the whole election system down, you start finding out that these guys are paid people.
Wait, what?
They're paid by the cartels to run. Candidates are, and some of them
just
are
to muddy up the waters, just to split the vote.
Split the vote, muddy up the waters.
I had no idea. Oh, sure. You know this for sure?
Oh yeah. I've talked to. There's several I could name right now, but I'm not going to do that.
It's just on our side alone. There's a lot of people who are running for governor that I look at them and go, "What are you thinking? Seriously? Did somebody actually tell you you can do it?"
Yeah, they're split.
Why are you in this?
And there's a technique. I don't want to I'm not going to divulge it right now, but there is a technique as to why the splitting the vote technique, why there's so many big numbers. That's an obvious sign of fraud, guys. And here's the other obvious sign of fraud. It's 29 days before election day you get your ballot. First of all, you get your ballot in the mail. How many people have touched or had access to your ballot since it was printed? A couple dozen. Well, no, you're not supposed to even have one. Nobody, but it's between the ROV and you, and then you vote and you put it back in the box. That's all there is. Anytime you provide an opportunity for multiple chains of breaking of the multiple chains of custody, you have fraud opportunities. The longer
and there's going to be some ideologue who
you have fraud opportunities. So you have 29 days of fraud opportunities, the election, and by the way, you have 27 days to count the votes. More fraud opportunities. See, that's the whole thing that people don't look at, or they've been brainwashed, or they don't want to. They're in denial about it. I mean, I understand that, because I was thinking that this year, we got another election coming up, and I'm going, gotta gear up for that. It wasn't so bad this year because we understood they just did it right up front. 61 running for governor. Okay, well, they're splitting the votes, and we figured that one out real quick. But there's multiple. If you take a look at the list of people who have been running year in and year out, and some of those that lose, it's pretty easy to find out who's doing what. And it's not difficult.
And they'll keep running for governor, even though they've never held any elected office. And every cycle they come back again. Here they are again. This time I'm going to win. And they don't even make it past the primary. But yet every single time they never stop to say, maybe I should run for something not quite so big as governor, and start there, but they don't want to. So this whole thing, people are being paid, kind of makes sense to me to actually run for governor. Why are they doing this every 4 years when there's so many other things that we need and places we need people like this to be running for all those offices?
Look at it's created a monoparty system in which you have the California members of the assembly. You have 80 assembly members, and up until this election, you have 17 that are Republican. In the Senate, you have 40 senators and 9 are Republican. And in the House of Representatives, there's 52 seats, and you have 9 out of 52 now. With I guess it's 8 out of 52 with Gallagher. I mean, come on.
There's about a third of these positions that you're talking about, elected office, that these Democrats are going uncontested.
Right. Where it's Democrat versus Democrat in the top 2.
Yeah.
See, that's
how is that possible? Why are we as the Republican Party of California allowing that to happen? Why aren't we grooming and bringing it? Where the Central Committee's bringing it?
Because the Republican Party leadership, they're the ones who have to make it happen.
Exactly. Corinne Rankin, what a train wreck.
Well,
worse than Jessica Patterson.
Don't get me going on Jessica Patterson. But then again, you got to remember.
I don't think you can say anything I haven't already said.
I know. I've said it too.
Horrible. Horrible.
This whole system, if you take a look at it, they started back in 2006. And by 2008, they came up with the Citizens Commission on Redistricting. 2010, they had another Citizens Commission add-on, which was for the federal seats. And then you had also the top 2. Well, in a primary for a presidential election, it used to be that the primaries were used because you didn't have a top 2. It was the top Republican or the top Democrat, and the parties ran the primaries, and they were the ones that ran against each other in the general election. But it was Charles Munger Jr. who brought in SEIU to be a party with the Republican Party, because the Republican Party, I know, the SEIU, it's a sponsor for the Republican Party.
Paul, this last convention, we actually had a union caucus, and I attended it just so I could see what it was all about. And it was everything that I thought it would be, a bunch of rah-rah and a lot of crap.
That's when they came in. It was Charles Munger Jr., the physicist. Charlie Munger Jr. his dad was business partner with, what's his name? Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett. So Charlie Munger Jr. is the one who brought in the Citizens Commission on Redistricting in 2008 for the state offices. 2010, she got the federal offices in, plus top 2. Now, what they did is they said, okay, the Republicans determined if you're going to vote in a primary, you're going to have to register as a Republican only. We don't want you, if you're a Democrat, an independent, declined to state, or green, or America, or whatever, you cannot vote in our primary. Now, the Democrats said, we'll take you all. Okay, so here's the Democrat Party in a primary getting Democrats, Republicans, independents, declined to state, and others. They get literally 3/4 of the voting public capable of voting in the Democratic primary, and the Republicans get 22%. So what happened in 2012 when everything went into effect? Well, the Republicans had about 22 seats in Congress in 2010, and that went down to like 17. And then by the time 2018 rolled around, the Republicans only had 8 Republicans in Congress out of 53. And Gavin Newsom was saying, I'm going to eliminate the California Republican Party, which is almost what he said the same thing about Prop 50. I'm eliminating the Republicans. Get it? So that's how the Republicans are already behind the 8 ball, because the Democrats, if a Democrat wants to vote for Chad Bianco, they get up there and say, give me a ballot for Chad Bianco. Give me a ballot. I want to vote for, and they get a ballot. They haven't registered. They get a ballot who they registered with. Well, they registered with the Democrats. Well, there's no Chad Bianco on that ballot. And so they go, wait a minute. And then they find out, you see this when you walk into the precincts. You see this all the time. Well, you're not a Republican and you didn't register a Republican, so I can't give you a ballot. You're an independent. I can't. I want to change my party affiliation. Well, I guess now they'll let you do it right on the spot, but it used to be. So you see how this works. It automatically culls out the Republicans. That's why you're getting Democrat versus Democrat in the general elections all the time.
What do you think about the jungle primary, which was originally, unfortunately, an Arnold Schwarzenegger thing?
Well, the jungle primary, you got to remember that Kevin Shelley, that's the person who was sitting in the Secretary of State, put those Diebold machines and said, I'm decertifying them because there's corruption. They're taking messages from Venezuela, and that's how Arnold Schwarzenegger got elected.
The jungle primary in California is the top 2 vote getters. No, it doesn't, regardless of party, are going to the big election in November.
That's correct.
And we don't show up. We suck at showing up for primary elections. We barely show up for midterms.
No. You missed my point about
we as in conservatives. We don't.
Well, no, but okay,
we get 2 Democrats going for the same office again and again and again and again and again.
No, listen, but I got to help you out with this so you got to understand it. They're automatically called out because of the fact that they can't. There's only 22% Republicans that are registered voters. So they don't go out and register more voters. And plus, where do all the other Republicans go? Because normally California is a deep red state. And so when you consider the population of Republicans, to me, I'm a declined estater. I'm not a Republican. I mean, I am now because of Trump, but for years I quit the Republican Party in 1990. I said, I'm done with this group. And so I rejoined just so I could vote for for Donald Trump in the primaries. That's why I went in there to do that. I rejoined, as did a lot of Republicans in California. But if you don't know that, you're automatically not going to get a ballot to vote to be able to be a Republican and get into that bailiwick. But the Democratic Party dominates anybody who wants to vote as a Democrat. They can. So that's about 73% of the population that are registered voters. So Republicans, you can show up all day long. If you're not registered, you're not going to get a Republican ballot to begin with. But that's the top 2 get in like that as Democrats all the time because of that calling out process right there. The Republicans did that deliberately. They've done that deliberately.
The Republicans did that.
Yes, the California Republican Party did that. That's why everybody, who knows this hates the Republican Party even more. And, this is their downfall is this kind of information getting out that they're actually in cahoots with the Democrats to make it happen. That's what the problem is. Now, people will say, there's no voter fraud in California. Oh, there's more than what we know.
Anybody who says that, you're next level stupid. You are absolutely so out of touch that I might as well end this conversation because there's really no talking with somebody that completely stupid. But and I hear people say that, including one of our own elected representatives who's been on my show a couple of times. He hasn't been on since because I really started pushing him on that. When I asked him about the voter fraud, what are you doing about this? I have people coming to me going, CharLee, you think we're going to finally get a Republican governor? My response is immediate. What's changed? Has anyone said anything about all the rampant election fraud here? Has anybody done anything to change it? Are any of your elected representatives even talking about it? Are you writing them saying, do something about this? I had Tom McClintock. I'll name names. Tom McClintock, I like him. I admire him, but I'm so disappointed in him. His response to me with those questions was, well, there wasn't enough proof. Proof? What do you mean enough? How much is too much? How much is enough? The U.S. Constitution spells it out very clearly. If there's even a question, do-overs. So let's say we go back and we find all these elections were fraudulent and all these people who are currently in office did not actually win those offices. What happens? What happens?
Well, and again, there should be something happens. You talk about the Brunson brothers, and the Brunson brothers have the right formula. We are party to the Brunson brothers. We helped them with their amicus brief. Robert Thomas and New California State did because we felt that they have a basis for what should happen, and the basis is if these are deemed to be ineligible candidates in California, then they will be immediately removed from Congress, immediately. And the courts, I believe, can
What about
make
this
that decision.
horrible, terrible legislative bills that have gone through, Senate bills, Assembly bills, and have been signed into law by Governor Hairdo and Jerry Brown before him, but they
Those
weren't
are
even
all
supposed
up-
to be holding that office. What happens to
Yeah,
those?
Those are all null and void. And this is where New California comes in, because we nullify all those bills when New California becomes a state, and California falls back again into its own compact constitution, which is what this whole thing about is on next week. Is that we're saying the Declaration of Independence for California, restored California, restored back to its original constitution. And that will be enough to start anew for California. And California will be a great state again. We'll have to pay the debt that's there. Let's be very, very clear. The reason why they've run up the debt is to destroy California and destroy the United States of America. That's the only reason why they're doing this. And so
I'm so
this
glad
is
to hear somebody else saying this. This is New World Order, one world government stuff. They know if they can take down California, they can take down the United States, or at least they believe so, because we're so immensely powerful, population-wise, size-wise, financially, and we're broke. The state is freaking broke, and so they pass a law that they cannot. It's illegal for them to declare bankruptcy.
You can see what they're doing. I mean, this is lunacy.
That's a good trick.
Yeah,
there is no saving it. I don't think there's anything. I don't think we can come back from what they've done other than just cut them off at the knees, or better yet, cut them in half. And then we'll just do our own thing. You nutbags, you keep LA and San Francisco, and you go ahead and do your little world of hurt. But we're going to be over here living our lives as Californians, as free Americans in the state of New California. That's the only light I see at the end of the tunnel, Paul. That's why I love what you're doing, and I want to let more and more people know. Here, they're not talking about this. They're not listening. They don't even think it's a viable option.
They're not doing anything yet. They're preening over, people with winning elections and things like that. Like there's any election that's run right now is so suspect, and that there any of them. I know that we had the Doug LaMalfa passed away suddenly, and he passed away, and then James Gallagher came in, and everybody's excited about James Gallagher. James Gallagher is not going to change anything. James Gallagher is another one.
He can't. He's one man against
it's not
brick
only
wall.
That, but it's not only that, but he's part of the old system. He didn't get in legitimately. That's just it. You can't say that there was a legitimate election that's been held this time around at all, and there's not. It's a completely correct. If you're in office or if you're out of office, you're illegitimate. Period. In this system, so they're gonna have to do it. And what will happen, like in the Brunson case, don't be surprised if I think it's Judge Thomas, Clarence Thomas, who's I've learned a lot about these amicus briefs and stuff like that because paid the bill for them and everything. But I've learned a lot about how and Robert Thomas has just done a fantastic job. He's qualified to argue in front of the Supreme Court. And
that's your attorney there with New California State,
right? He did a fantastic job with the Brunsons and making sure that they actually could be heard, because they're not attorneys and they have no clue. And so when you take a look at the broad things that they did, which are brilliant, by the way, I'm going to say brilliant, not from an attorney standpoint or legalese to get it through a court, but what they did was brilliant. It took a Robert Thomas to come along and say, okay, you want to get this in front of the Supremes, then this is what you got to do, X, Y, and Z. And then he fashioned a great deal of information for that. And that Clarence Thomas, they took it. They've held on to it. And it spells out very clearly what's going to happen if, in fact, they're going to exercise that option. And I think that they will exercise the option, and that option is very, very clear in law that if there's a rendering that the elections are fraudulent And again, that's why Trump is going back to 2020. It's not necessary. He knows he won the election. We told him a day and a half from our numbers guy that he won California with 15,800,000 votes versus Joe Biden's 4,600,000 votes. That's a big jump, obviously. And people say, oh, that's how big it was. He was winning every state in the union. Big, not even a little bit.
No, but it was a landslide.
They had the algorithms and so on. So everybody who won under that, anything they did can be deemed to be illegal and unactionable. So laws will be changed. A lot of things will happen. Will it be chaos? I don't think so. I think everybody's got it. We're going to be fine. There's going to be some changes in California, obviously, and they're going to be big ones, but it's manageable and we can get this done. There's no question. Everybody's going to be really happy about that. And so, we're prepared now to go to Washington. We've sent letters off to the president requesting a meeting now. That's the next thing we've done. And now we reorganized California, and then we restored it, and we adopted the Constitution of 1850 for California. And that's the celebration that we're having on Thursday, the 25th, it's the reading of the Declaration of Independence for reorganized California. And that reading is going to be very, very important for the people to see it. There it is. This is California's Independence Day. It's going to be at 12 noon, high noon on the Capitol steps. And it couldn't happen to a better place. And, you're invited. Bring all your friends. Bring all anybody who wants to be down there. It's all free. But it's going to be something that's going to be epic because, this really marks a huge day in American history when we finally, for the very first time, pushed back against British rule. Remember, it's 250 years ago that we declared independence in this country. And that's one of the things that we're celebrating right now is now we have a real opportunity in the state of reorganized California to start anew with a new constitution, or with the old constitution, with the original compact constitution that was approved by Congress, but with the Declaration of Independence declaring to the world that California is free from the 1879 Constitution and free from British rule. And it's also the Vatican. It's the British. It's the City of London, Vatican, and of course the Communist Chinese are here ruling California. And that's going to end. That will end on the 25th.
That is exciting. I just love this. And we need to show up. We need to be there for this. We need to have some impressive numbers for this. And I know it's tough. It's during the week and it's at 12 noon. But if you're anywhere near downtown Sacramento, go to the Capitol building and be there for this. It's going to be on the north steps there, I'd imagine, or
yep. Oh, yeah.
Facing the Tower Bridge. Beautiful. Okay. Starts at 12. Historic event at the state Capitol. Restored California declares independence from 1879 California. That's our Independence Day, Thursday, right. June 25th at 12 noon. Vitally important that you show up for this. Be there for that.
Yeah, they can go to the website and get more information. And that information is going to be posting up this weekend. We've got deliberations going on and actual things happening with our legislature and committees and so on that are actually taking place this weekend. So catch out some of that action up. It will be up on the website of newcaliforniastate.com, newcaliforniastate.com. You can kind of get some blow-by-blow stuff that's happening, and we'll be down there and we'll be doing the things we need to be doing.
And that following Saturday is this. Nope, sorry, wrong thing. This right here, America's 250th birthday. And you got a lot of guest speakers there. A couple of them I know, and I really like Simone Anderson being one of the big ones. She's just extraordinary.
Sunday on the 28th.
I say Saturday. My apologies. Sunday the 28th. And lunch will be served from noon to 4, and you're heading to Calaveras County. That's some of my old stomping grounds right there. You're going to be at Angels Camp, home of the Jumping Frog Jubilee.
That's right. We'll be in the the limelight of Samuel Clemens, who stands in the park there at Utica Park. That's the old Utica mine site, and it's a very historic place to be in. That was one of the better speeches I ever gave years ago about New California and about the difference between a republic and a democracy. And
Beautiful.
it was, anyway, I very fond of that, and that whole area is beautiful, and you come up for the day and have a great time and listen to some great speeches about what this country is going to be like.
Amen. I love this. And you can get all the information again at newcaliforniastate.com.
That's correct.
So put this in your calendar. Thursday, June 25th at 12 noon at the California State Capitol building. And then that Sunday, that weekend at Utica Park in Angels Camp in awesome Calaveras County. And that's from noon to 4, and lunch will be served. There is a QR code though. Scan to register right there. If you want to hold your phone up to that, that'll give you all the information. This is extraordinary. I love this. It's going to be an excellent venue, Utica Park, truly home of the Calaveras County Jumping Frog Jubilee. And at 12 o'clock, and you'll be hanging out with a whole bunch of patriots. You'll make a whole lot of new friends, people who are passionate about our state. And what I love about you doing this in Calaveras County is that is basically Calaveras and Amador and Tuolumne. That's the heart of what birthed California becoming a state when all the gold was discovered in 1849. And so there you are, heading to the gold country and going to be doing your event there. I love it, man. Well done, my friend. Well done. And that's newcaliforniastate.com. Anything we didn't cover? I think we covered a lot. Something I may have left out.
And let me give out the cell or the phone number. We have an 800 number, 877-828-2753.
Hang on. Say that again.
877
877
828
828
2753.
2753. Does that spell out fire Gavin Newsom forever?
Well, we can make it say that.
We'll make it say that. All right, my friend. Thank you so much for all your time. You already did a 4-hour radio show this morning, and then you come on with me and hang out for at least an hour. I appreciate you more than you know, buddy.
No problem. Listen, I really appreciate you, Charlie. Thank you very much for your support over the years.
You bet. Paul Preston. I want to see my support come to an end because I want to see it actually happen. That's what I want. You heard all the corruption. I mean, can one little old Brit, even if he is allowed to be selected to be governor of California this November, is he going to be able to fix all that? Really? No. Do-over. I'm big on do-over. Screw this one up. Just do over. Start again. newcaliforniastate.com. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God.